Today we're going to talk about the art of making good beats. I divided this video into 5 main topics, starting with harmony because it is the foundation of modern music, but all the other topics are equally important. My name is Dre, and over time I've been obsessively trying to figure out the secret to making good music, so you're getting years and years of experience into one short video. Even if you're an advanced beat maker, stick until the end because there still might be some information that you don't want to miss out on, so let's do this. So first, let's start with harmony. Harmony is the combination of notes played at the same time that create a pleasant feeling most of the time. So you can make chords like these. This is a major chord. This is a minor chord. So every chord is going to generate a different emotion and feeling. You can also create advanced chords like these. And you can also go crazy. In jazz music, there's a bunch of chords like these. There's more tension to them. So I would say 99% of music is based on chord progressions. If you're just starting out and you want to create a chord progression, you could just start placing notes and figure out if they work or not just by listening to them. But most of the time, you won't get something nice right away. There's a way of coming up with something pleasant to everyone, and that's using scales. A scale is a combination of notes that sound good together, and the great thing about FL Studio or any other DAW is that you can highlight the scales in the piano roll. Go in the piano roll options, view, scale highlighting, and there's a bunch of different scales in here. The two major scales you need to know about is the major and minor. The major scale is really going to give you a happy feeling, which personally I don't really like in my type of music, but the minor is gonna give you a melancholic, hard, or even sad type of feeling. So I usually tend to stick with the minor, but there's also other scales. There's the Dorian scale that I really like actually. It gives you like a gloomy feeling. There's the Locrian scale, which apparently is the darkest scales, but I never really used it because it's kind of a bit too weird to me. There's the Phrygian that I use a lot in hard beats and trap beats. And there's also the Lydian that's very bright. It's close to the major scale. The harmonic minor too, I use it a lot. It's kind of a bit darker than the minor. Gives you that exotic vibe. And the great thing about scales is that you can all mix them together and create some crazy chord progressions. But when you're first starting out, I would pick a scale. I would go with the minor natural. The scale is highlighted now, and I would start making chord progressions like this. These are all the notes of the scale, starting with C. That's the root note. You can start building triads like this, by skipping a note, placing the third, skipping the fourth, placing the fifth. So now you have all the chords in the minor natural. What I would do next is pick a chord progression that sounds good to you. So let's say if I pick 1, 3, and 5, I would make the chord progression like this. Command L to legato. Then you can Command B to duplicate this progression. Place it on top of an octave. Do the same thing a couple of times. Place it down too. Command B. And you can use this as a guide channel. Then go in another instrument and then start placing your notes like this. The reason why you do this is to open up your chords. So instead of having the chords played like this, you're gonna have them played like this. And it creates a nice feeling. Then you can go crazy and experiment. And just create nice melodies right away using the chord progression as a foundation to your beat. And the reason why you want to do this and use chord progressions is to create that feeling of tension and release, push and pull, and move the listener. So this is exactly what I did for the beat that I'm going to use today for demonstration purposes. To show you the exact chord progression that I used for my beat, I was in D sharp, minor natural. I used the first, the sixth, the seventh, and the first degree again. On the last chord here, added an extra note just to create a bit of tension. And using this chord progression template, this is the main melody I came up with, which is actually based on harmony. So our second topic is rhythm. This is really important when you make beats because this is what makes people move. So let's say if you have something unpredictable that is not stable, like this, It just doesn't make sense. It throws people off. You want to be anchored to something, and most of the time that something would be a clap or a snare. Because we are in the 4/4 time signature, that means for every bar there's 4 beats. If I count 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, everything is divided in 4s. So you want to be anchored to something like the clap or the snare. You're gonna put the clap on the 3rd beat. So 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. What I recommend for the kick or the 808 is to put it on the 1st step, and then after that you can put it in other places. You're more or less free. We have that clap that keeps us on track. A great way to make people vibe is to fill each 2 steps when it comes to the hi-hats. You can take off the metronome now. And then you can fill in the hi-hats wherever you see fit. So right away we have something that makes way more sense than the first thing we created. And that's just because of the clap. If I take away those claps, it still makes sense because we based our composition around those claps on the 3rd beat.
Hey, look at that! Clap, clap, right?
Now let's talk about melody. So we gotta remember that the main melody of a beat, most of the time it's gonna be the voice, the artist. So you can't go too crazy and fill too much of the space because no one's gonna be able to rap or sing on the beat. Let's say if I start going crazy like this and I just place notes anywhere. First of all, it's like out of tune because it's not on scale. But let's say if I put it on scale, it's okay, but it's really not wow. So what I would recommend, if you want to make a melody on top of that first chord progression / melody that you already have, is to use the same notes of the progression you created in the beginning. This is where the chord progression is. I can use passing tones like this. And it's gonna sound good as long as the foundation of the melody is based on the chord progression of the beat. Now let's talk about our 4th topic that is very, very important, and that's sound selection, but also effects that you add on your sounds. So obviously when you're just starting off, you have FL Studio and you have all these stock plugins. You're gonna use them for sure, you're gonna experiment. So let's grab a stock plugin from FL. Let's go with Citrus, pretty old school. I mean, the sounds, they're not the best sounds, to be honest, okay? Like, it sounds a bit cheap. Like, I'm not trying to hate on FL, but, you know, it's the stock plugins. Short synth, all right. So yeah, so the sounds are not great. So that's why you probably want to invest. You know, obviously it's not your fault. You're just starting out. You don't have money to spend on these plugins, but you probably want to check out other plugins. There's Omnisphere. There's a bunch of great plugins out there. I have Reason Rack plugin. It's not the best, but there's a bunch of different sounds in there. A free plugin that's okay too is Surge. There's also Contact and Complete, which is pretty expensive. But yes, the choice of plugin, the choice of sound is definitely gonna make your beats better. If you don't have money to invest right now and you only have these sounds, you can add effects on the sounds to make them sound better. First of all, there's delay. There's already delay on this sound, so I'm not gonna put it, but there's the Fruity Convolver I used to use a lot when I first started, and it's a good reverb. Or you can even get a plugin like Sky Keys. It's like 30 bucks, and there's a bunch of good sounds in here, like this one. But you see how raw it sounds? If I add Guitar Rig, it just puts everything in a space with all these effects here. It's night and day, honestly. So definitely the selection of the sound source and also the effects that you add on the sounds makes a huge difference. All right, so let's talk about structure now. This is very important when you start arranging your beat. And remember, because we are in 4/4 time signature, the structure of the beat and the bars are all gonna be divided into 4 as well. So if you see these numbers on top here, you can count. Everything is divided into 4s. All all the loops are gonna be in 4 bars or 8 bars. Now, the only thing about trap music is because we compose in double time. So right now we're at 126 BPM, but really this is 63 BPM. We just double it because in trap music, you wanna have more steps in the step sequencer so you can do crazier stuff with the hi-hats and drums. So here the numbers, you see it's 1 to 5. This is 4 bars, but really it's 2 bars. This is a real 4 bars. When it comes to the structure, you wanna create movement. And when I say movement, it's really change over time because you don't wanna bore the listener with the same 8 or 4 bar loop for 3 minutes straight. So you definitely wanna add something every 4 or 8 bars or take something off, switch up the energy, switch up the vibe, and create a climax. So let's listen to the full beat and I'll explain to you how I came up with the structure. So we're introducing our second melody. We're creating a climax. Got the bass and second layer of sounds. And we're also creating drops with Looperator. So you have that regular rhythm going on with the clap. And the 808 is following that main chord progression. We have a flute melody here. So this is the verse now. There's a bit less energy. So now we're creating, it's kind of a drop, we're creating a climax before the chorus. And you'll see the switch up of energy. So remember guys, harmony, rhythm, melody, sound, and structure. These are all things that are very important for you to make a good beat. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to see something else like this, you can click right here. And if you want me to cover something in the next videos, you can just drop a comment. Take care guys, I'll see you soon.